Hello, welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and today I have a featured finished project video for you. I do these videos to give you a little more insight on my process in picking a particular pattern and matching it with a certain yarn, and then any modifications that I make. And at the end, I share some ideas on how I plan on styling the garment or whatever it is that I am featuring, and usually that is shortly after I have finished it. So you're seeing the combinations as I'm trying them on, probably for the first time. Today I am featuring the Simple Tee. This is a pattern by Laura Ferguson. It was designed for Purl Soho. It is a paid for pattern. When I go over the pattern specifications, it will be information that is given prior to purchasing the pattern. I did make several modifications to this as I went. Part of it is just based on what I was envisioning for the end result and also for the fit that I desired. As always, my videos include closed captioning. You can click on that CC button. If I speak faster or slower than your preferences, YouTube also allows you to adjust the speed. I will link to project pages in the description box below this video. For the purpose of this video, it will just be of this tee. The things that I will be trying on with it are all sewn items that do not have project pages. I will also link to any makers, designers, yarn, things like that I talk about. And I also put photos on the screen sometimes, so if you're not looking at the screen, they might get missed. I just want to give you a heads up. And also I will use the opportunity to correct myself if I see it in editing to also put that on the screen or in the description box below this video. Yarn support was provided by Purl Soho for this project to try out this new base that debuted this year, 2025. I did purchase the pattern on my own. This pattern is written for Purl Soho's new base, June worsted. The gauge for this pattern is 19 stitches by 27 rows. And the recommended needles are a US 6, which is a 4mm, and a US 7, which is a 4.5mm. Just a reminder that needle size is recommended for that gauge, and your gauge and tension may vary, so you may need to change your needle size in order to achieve the gauge that's specified in the pattern. 9 sizes are available in this pattern, ranging from a finished circumference of 38.75 inches to 72.5 inches. The recommended ease for this pattern is 5 to 9 inches of ease. In the pattern description, there is a note that if you need help figuring out how much ease and what size to pick, there's a link to an article for that. You're also given finished length from the shoulder to the bottom of the sweater, from the underarm to the bottom of the sweater, and the finished sleeve length from the underarm to the bind off. Now, I did make several modifications, as I mentioned earlier, so I will talk about those after I go through the pattern specifications. This pattern is knit top down. There is raglan increases in the shoulders, and they are not at an even rate. All the edges are rolled edges. There's no ribbing, and it is considered a seamless construction. The yarn used in this pattern is a new base by Purl Soho called June worsted. It is a cotton linen blend. It's a mix of 70% organically grown Tangui cotton, which is a Peruvian cotton known for its strength and durability. And that is mixed with a 30% Belgian linen, and it's a 4-ply yarn. This is a new to me base. I have never used, I don't know if I can say never, but to my recollection, I don't think I've used a worsted cotton linen yarn before. Now, my first impressions of this is that it's very round and it's dense, it's heavier, so it comes in 164 yards for 100 grams. It is listed as a worsted weight yarn. Recommended needles are US 6 to a US 8. The yarn is super soft, feels cool to the touch, it's dense, it has great strength to it, and it doesn't split or come apart very easily, which is nice because I feel like sometimes cotton yarns can get really splitty and make it really annoying to work with, in my opinion. This yarn stayed within its twist, and I didn't have any issues with it splitting. The yarn comes in 100 grams peanut balls, so if you don't want to wind your yarn, you don't have to. I did wind it into cakes because that's how I prefer knitting from. As a 100% plant-based yarn, this yarn can be machine washed and dried, which is how I plan on using it. It's really important to me that summer garments knit out of whatever fiber be machine washable, Because in the summer, there's going to be sweat, there's going to be sunscreen, there's potentially going to be bug repellent, and there's going to be sand, most likely, thrown into the mix, and I want to be able to throw it in the washing machine. If it has to be laid flat to dry, that's totally fine. Things tend to dry okay in the summer unless it's super, super humid, but I do prefer my summer knitwear to be machine washable. Let's talk about my process. So I was envisioning a sweatshirt that I can throw on in the cooler summer mornings, in the cooler summer evenings. I mentioned in a previous episode when I was talking about it as a work in progress, I'm thinking like fireflies, campfires, canoeing, kayaking, paddleboarding, and just being able to throw this on and wear it to whatever kind of outdoorsy thing, and then being able to wash it really easily. For the colors, I really wanted something that invoked slightly nostalgic cabin-y feel type of things. And the original pattern is written in one color, but of course that can just be a blank canvas for anything. So I added in stripes to the body section. I'm hoping that this step stool will allow me to show you the details a little bit better, but I'm not sure if this is going to work well or not. So hopefully you can see it all in frame, and you might be able to tell there are some differences from the original pattern. I'll flash the original pattern here on the screen so maybe you can compare a little bit. I'll try to stand still so that maybe you can get a better idea, but I think it's still not all in frame. Let me stand back a little more. How's that? Better? Okay, so there should be a picture of it on the screen and then next to me while I'm talking about it so that you can compare it a little bit better. And I didn't even tell you which size I picked. I picked the smallest size to give me 7 inches of positive ease. My initial swatch was on the pattern recommended needles, which is a US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle, and that gave a beautiful fabric that I actually really like, but I didn't meet the gauge of 19 stitches for 4 inches. I would have just kept with that and gone down another size in the pattern, but I was already knitting the smallest size, and so I decided that I would go down another needle size to a US 6 and swatch again, and that one got me 19 stitches for 4 inches. So for the neckband, I cast on initially as written, and it was just way too wide. It was just not working out for me. So after trying it 3 times, even with going down another needle size, I decided I would just put it on a provisional cast on and come back to it later. That way I could make adjustments without having to rip the whole thing back. So after I unpicked my crochet provisional cast on and put it onto needles, and then I put in silicone tubing to hold that round where I was picking up from, so that if I needed to keep ripping back, I could easily do that and just slide my needles through. In the pattern, it has the neckband written to go 1 size smaller in needle size. So since I changed my main fabric to go down a needle size, I also went down another needle size for the neck area. So then when I knit the neckline as written in the pattern, it was not rolling the way the pattern was rolling, and it was too wide. So then I took that back and redid it by putting in some markers where the raglan starts, and then I did some decreases as I knit up. I think I decreased on every 4th round, and I would decrease a total of 4 stitches. So 1 on each side of this raglan, and then I did that, I believe, 3 times. So I decreased it by 12 stitches from the original cast on number, and then I bound off knitwise, and I used a US 8 double pointed needle to bind it off to make sure it wasn't going to be too tight, and I prefer this so much better. I still get the rolled edge, which is a nice casual look, and then I don't have it as wide, and it comes in just a little bit, and it doesn't stand up straight. I can get this over my head very easily. It is not too wide, it is not too narrow. I'm really glad I did that provisional cast on and came back to it later to try out different things, because it just worked out so much better. I love how the decreases look on the side as well. I'm not sure if it'll show up. It's not super visible, but the decreases are lined up really well with the raglan increases, and so it has a little bit of a line there on the side. So then when I got to the body section, I decided I was going to add in these stripes. These are 5 round stripes, and I will tell you about the colors I used. The main color is Pacific Reef. Then this top stripe is Green Finch Yellow. It's a cool toned green. Then we have Aloe Green, which is a sagey dusty green. And then we have Red Clay, which is an orange leaning red, a very orange leaning red. I would say it was more orange than I was expecting. And then Pink Limestone is a very cool toned light pink. If I get closer. Now I will say this teal color rubbed off on my fingers as I was knitting with it, so I knew it was going to bleed in the wash, and it did bleed a lot. That is not uncommon for saturated teal colors. I find that happening a lot with dark reds and purples, magentas, and teals. They tend to bleed out, and so I definitely used color catchers in the wash, and they definitely soaked up teal. It did rub off a little bit on the stripes, so the stripes are slightly cooler than they originally came. I will hopefully be able to show you a little bit. I'm not sure if it'll show on camera or not, because it would have to be really close. You would have to be looking really, really closely in order to see some of the fuzziness that's slightly more teal, but it's totally fine. I think for future washes, I'm still going to use a color catcher and wash it on its own until the water runs clear. I did the body portion quite different than the pattern because I also added short row shaping in the back. I've talked about this in previous episodes with different garments. So for me, an oversized garment tends to become a little tenty if I don't add any shaping. Now this was going to be very boxy, and so I decided to add some decreases in the body section on the sides. I think I did 3 sets of decreases every 10 rounds on the sides, and that brought it in just a little bit. And then before I knit the body hem, I added short row shaping. And I've talked about this in previous episodes with other garments, but I find that helps it lay better and doesn't flare out or tent out in the back. And so I'm standing here on my side to hopefully give you a better view that the back is maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches longer than the front, and it just sits much nicer. This also means when I bend over and I'm moving around that my sweater doesn't ride up. So hopefully this is visible. I don't feel like it's super noticeable in the sense that it's like a very dramatic high-low hem, but it is just enough to make it more comfortable, and I like the shaping of it and how it lays. The decreases in the waist aren't super visible either, but it does keep it from becoming too boxy or tenty on my frame. So I still have positive ease around full bust circumference, but I also have positive ease around my hips, but it just isn't too big. My short row shaping in the back comes up to be about 70% of the stitches, and that worked out really well. With the striping, I moved my center, my beginning of round, from the center back, which is how it's written in the pattern, to the side, because I didn't want my stripes to have the jog in the back. Someone asked in a previous video how I keep my stripes from having a jog, and I actually don't do anything. Well, kind of. I will tug a little bit on both ends of the yarn at the beginning and the end of a stripe just to cinch that part in slightly. But honestly, I don't do any of the slipping of stitches or knitting two together. I find that when I try those things, it just ends up being more fussy and it looks not always tidier. And so I just don't do it. So I'm going to show you the side here with the stripes. There is a slight jog, but it really is not that noticeable, and it's in my underarm, so I'm not going to be bothered by it. So when I was doing my short row shaping in the back, I moved my beginning of round back to the center back just to make it easy math for doing a symmetrical short row high-low hem. If you're unfamiliar with doing a short row high-low hem, I would recommend checking out the Tin Can Knits Love Note sweater pattern. That is a paid-for pattern, but it does have instructions on doing a high-low hem. Otherwise, I'm sure there's some tutorial out there on YouTube or just Googling on how to do a short row high-low hem. I like to do it over 70% or 2/3 of my stitches, so it does come around a little bit in the front, and then I work my way in. That way the final round that I'm knitting to resolve all of my double stitches, because I use German short rows, then those stitches are a little more hidden into the hem versus resolving them as I go, and then you get like blips or sometimes little gaps. But if I resolve them all on that final round before switching to a smaller needle to knit my hem, I feel like it's less noticeable. So after doing the short row shaping, I did a knit 2 purl 2 hem for about, I think, 2.5-ish inches, and then I knit 2 rounds, and then I bound off with a US 8 double pointed needle knitwise to make sure it wasn't going to be too tight. For my hem, I did go down to a US 5 needle, which is what I used on the top for my neckband area. I feel like I was all over the place in this video, and I'm really sorry if it ended up more scattered than I planned for it to be. I have one last thing to talk about that I changed in the pattern, and that is the sleeves. In the pattern, the sleeves are about elbow length and finish off with a rolled edge, and I did not do that. I knit mine to be about 3/4 length sleeves, and I did not do any decreases. In fact, I think I picked up 2 extra stitches in the underarm to make sure that I had a multiple of 4 in order to do my ribbing at the cuffs, and I finished it off the same way that I did my body hem, which is a knit 2 purl 2, 2 rounds of knit, and then bound off knitwise using a US 8 double pointed needle. All the ribbing is done on a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter needle. And I wanted my sleeves to be nice and loose, because if I wanted to be able to throw this on over a t-shirt, I didn't want there to be any bunchiness in the arms. I think I should be able to wear this with a button up underneath that maybe isn't too deep in the sleeves, and that should still be comfortable as well. And so yeah, I used about 100 grams of yarn for each sleeve. This is not a lightweight sweater whatsoever. I feel like it's slightly like a weighted blanket. It feels a little bit like memory foam, and it's definitely comfortable and breathable, and it feels cool to the touch. I have not worn it out on a summer evening or morning yet, or even during the day, so I can't say for sure how it wears, but I believe that I will still get a little bit of a breeze through these nice wide sleeves, and because the front is shorter than the back and it's nice and loose, I should be able to get a nice breeze that way as well. I went through so many different details on what I changed in this pattern to make it my own. I did really enjoy knitting this, and I do love the finished result and the feel of the fabric. I will now try it on with a few different things. I will adjust the camera to be vertical, which I'm kind of thinking I should have just done in the beginning because it was so difficult to share with you all the different things that I adjusted here. I'm not sure for future, will I just start vertically so that the entire garment is more visible, or what I will do in these future featured finished project videos. I feel like when it's vertical, it just doesn't work very well for the YouTube horizontal format. However, it still makes it so difficult to show all the things, and if I back up a lot, then it's super far away. I don't know. I'm still figuring out. So hopefully this video was not too disjointed and confusing to watch. I'm so sorry if it was any of those things. Now we will get on to styling it. Okay, hopefully it's all adjusted correctly. The first outfit I have is just what I'm wearing it with, which is a pair of jeans. I imagine this is how I'm going to wear it most of the time. It hits great at the waist. The ribbing starts at about the top of my waistband. It is very comfortable. When I raise my arms, I don't feel like it is showing more skin than I am comfortable with. And this is just something that is very easy to throw on and have a t-shirt on underneath or a tank top underneath. And I feel very comfortable in this. So on to the next thing. These are my very bright green June pants. It's a pattern by a Canadian company, Helen's Closet. And these are 100% linen. These pants have made several appearances in these featured finished project videos because I really like them and they kind of go with everything. I don't feel like most people would think neon green would go with everything, but honestly, I've been able to wear them with a lot of things that I've made, and that makes me so happy. They have pockets, elastic waist, it can be worn higher or worn lower, and they are very breathable, and I really like them with this teal. So on to the next one. So the three bottoms I'm going to share with you, aside from the jeans, are all variations of the June pants and shorts pattern by Helen's Closet. I made a ton of them last summer. They're just so easy to wear. This pair is 100% cotton. It's this like peachy white gingham. There's pockets. Again, there's an elastic waist. This one I think is a little wider than my green ones, but I really like this with this top as well. I feel like the peachy color goes well with the warmer stripes, and it's just a very fun summery look. Gingham goes with summer, and I can wear this really to anything. I think I would probably have a white t-shirt on with this or a white tank top. Okay, on to the next. Alrighty, these are a pair of shorts. June shorts. They are made out of a cotton poplin. It's like a gray and navy leaf print. There are pockets. And I feel like this print is fun to wear with this garment as well. I feel like the stripes in the garment make it fun for pairing with other things, but they aren't so much in the sense that whatever I wear on the bottom has to go or pull from one of the colors in the stripes. So the gray and the navy aren't in this top at all, and there's a print to it, but I feel like it's still very fun to wear together. I think it's really fun to play around with mixing and matching patterns and fabrics and looks that might not be as obvious to put together. Like this top with the jeans, I feel like it's an obvious pairing and really easy, something I don't have to think about at all. I can just throw it on with jeans. But these other pants that I made are a little bit different in the color or the print. And so it's just fun to see how it goes together. And I really like it. I wasn't planning on trying it on with the collared shirt underneath, but I thought I just had to give it a try, and I really like it. I don't feel like it's too tight in the shoulders, and I can still cuff the shirt underneath if I want. This is just like a lightweight, light wash denim button-up shirt. I feel like the underarms are still comfortable. The length looks really nice. I also have on a pair of teal corduroys, and I feel like this looks really nice with the light blue and the deep teal and the greener teal on top. I'm liking this. I feel like this is something that is really easy to wear also in the spring if it's too chilly to wear it without something underneath, or I don't plan on taking it off because it's too cold for just a t-shirt or a tank top, so I would plan on wearing it just like this. But if I still got too hot, I could still take the sweater off and be comfortable with the button-up only. And I could always tie the sweater around my waist, around my shoulders, if I needed it for a layer later. But yeah, I really like this look as well. Okay, I think that is everything that I have for you today. Thank you for listening to me go on and on about all of my different pattern modifications for this one. I feel like it was a little bit disjointed, but hopefully it was still okay to follow. I hope you gathered some inspiration on how you might make this simple tee your own and how you might piece it with different things that you have or sew other items that you think could go with it for your own personal style. Cheers to being creative, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!